It's been a while and I just realized that this is my first YouTube video for this year. So before anything else, I'd like to greet everyone first a happy new year and I hope we'll all have a prosperous 2022 ahead of us. For this video, I am going to share with you the first 5 books that I read this 2022. So I decided to do this video because I'm back to reading books. I'm actually already into reading before, but I have to admit that when Korean dramas and American series became really popular, I kind of shifted my interest from reading to watching. But yeah, lately I've been reading again, and because I really enjoyed the first 5 books I read this year, I thought it would be nice to share them with all of you. Okay, let's start. So the first book that I'll share was the first book that I read this year, and the reason why I got curious was because it was all over social media, and majority of the people who read this confessed that they actually cried. I'm talking about It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is a story about a girl named Lily Bloom and a guy named Ryle Kincaid who randomly met one night, and they kind of had a bit of a moment together. They parted ways thinking they'll never see each other again, but after a few months, they met again, and that's basically where their story started to evolve. They were actually great together, and it's like they're a perfect match, but things became quite shaky when Atlas Corrigan, a guy from Lily's childhood, suddenly came into the picture. While reading, that's when I realized why people were crying, and it was because it was heartbreaking. I won't exactly explain how heartbreaking it was because I don't want to spoil the plot for those who haven't read it yet. But yeah, it's quite sad, and I honestly also cried while reading towards the hurtful parts. By the way, I'd also like to share that the author tackled some sensitive issues in the book, so if you're not comfortable in reading those but you're still interested in reading It Ends With Us, I suggest that you search for its trigger warnings first so that you can decide and somehow prepare yourself. But overall, for me, this is a well written book from start to finish. And the author wrote it in a way that it's easy for the readers to feel for the characters. The plot twists are also something to look forward to, and I heard that Colleen Hoover is one of the writers who writes plot twists really well. So don't be discouraged to read just because you heard that people were crying or just because I told you it was heartbreaking. Because to be fair, It Ends With Us also has a lot of happy and kilig moments. And if there's any consolation, all the characters had a good ending. The next book I'm going to share was also a buzz in social media, and that's where I got the recommendation to read The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This book is super kilig for me. It's very heart-fluttering, and it actually took a while before I could read another book because I just couldn't get over it yet. Okay, anyway, Spanish Love Deception is about a girl named Catalina or Lina Martin who, because of some reasons, was in desperate need of a fake boyfriend to bring to her sister's wedding. Lena was actually having a hard time looking for a guy until Aaron Blackford, one of her co-workers, volunteered to be the fake boyfriend. But here's the thing. Lena and Aaron do not like each other. They clash, they don't go along well, and Lena was so sure that they would not be able to make people believe that one, they're happy together, and two, they're in love with each other. But Aaron insisted because he also needs Lena for something, and then eventually Lena agreed. So they traveled to Spain together because that's where Lena's hometown is and that's where the wedding is going to take place. And I tell you, there were already some subtle kilig moments in the first part of the book, but the peak kilig moments happened when they were already in Spain. I won't elaborate much, but let's just say that Aaron Blackford was so invested in his role as the fake boyfriend. His words, his actions, super kilig. Also, although the main focus of the book is the love story, a big part of it also talked about Lena's relationship with her family, which is actually very relatable to us in the Filipino culture. So that made it more interesting for me as well. Overall, this is the book that made me kilig the most so far. And if you're into enemies to lovers slash fake dating kind of stories, this book is perfect for you. Or if you're not, I'd still highly recommend that you read this book. The third book is entitled Culti by Mariana Zapata. I've been told that Mariana Zapata books are slow burn books, which means that the story and the relationship of the characters develop slowly. I had second thoughts in reading slow burns, but since lately I'm very into soccer, shout out to my favorite European team, Chelsea Football Club, and this book is about soccer, I thought that it would be a very interesting read. Culti is about a girl named Salome or Sal Casillas who is a soccer player and a member of a professional women's soccer team. She was a big fan of soccer since her childhood days, and her biggest inspiration was the soccer legend named Rainer Culti. Sal was such a big fan of Culti, as in she loves him. She had posters of him all over her bedroom wall, and he went around telling people that one day she is going to marry him. Now back to the current setting, Sal's team announced that they hired a new assistant coach, and by some sort of magic or some twist of fate, their new assistant coach was none other than Rainer Colti. It's like Sal's fantasy and reality were combined and it's suddenly standing right in front of her. A fangirl's dream come true, right? But the thing is, Sal did not like Colti. In fact, she hated him because he wasn't the person she expected him to be. He was rude, he was arrogant, and they clashed a lot of times. While reading, I realized that this is really a slow burn book because I've already read a lot of chapters, but it's still focused on the clash between the characters. Although in the middle part, I already sensed a slight change of heart, but they still don't do anything about it yet. There were also some what are we moments and an age gap factor, but I'd say that the slow build up adds more spice to the story. Don't worry, this is an enemies to lovers story, so we'll still get those killing moments towards the end. With Culti, you just need a little patience with the slow build up because it will make you appreciate the story and the killing moments more, and I tell you, the ending will be worth it. The fourth book is a very chill one, and it reminded me of the classic feel good chick lit that I used to read before, and this is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Unlike Spanish Love Deception and Culti, which both belong to the enemies to lovers group, People We Meet on Vacation is a friends to lovers story circulating around a girl named Poppy Wright and a guy named Alex Nielsen. Their personalities were opposite each other, with Poppy being the loud and cheerful one and Alex being quiet and serious, but they became the best of friends. Every year, even if they have their own separate lives already, they have this kind of tradition where they spend summer vacation together in a different city or a country. It's like their thing, their special moment together. They've been doing that for so long already, but after their trip to Croatia, they just suddenly stopped communicating with each other. It's been 2 years already since then, and when Poppy was asked one time about happiness, all she can associate with it were the times she and Alex spent together. To get that feeling again and to somehow clear the air between them, Poppy gathered the courage to talk to Alex and to convince him to have another summer vacation together, even if it's already for the last time. So, in the book, aside from the latest vacation of the characters, the author also talked about all the past vacations they had together, which is actually quite fun to read because it felt like I was also with them in every city or country, and it made me want to have my own vacation very soon. Also, there's just the right amount of push and pull between Poppy and Alex. It's like they want some things, but because they're best friends, they didn't want to make it complicated. I love that the element of friendship is present throughout the story, and despite misunderstandings, I really felt how Poppy and Alex cared for each other. Finally, the last book that I'll share today was the book that I just recently finished, and this is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is about a girl named Ryan Trevorrow and a guy named Michelaire who became friends to enemies to lovers. It's just that at first they did not know each other personally. The relationship started when they became pen pals as part of their fifth grade project, but after that year, they did not stop writing. Even though they were continuously writing to each other for 7 years already, they promised not to meet each other in real life, to maintain the magic and the secure world that they created through their letters. Until one day, Misha accidentally met and found out who Ryan was. But at that time, Ryan wasn't still aware that it was Misha. Unfortunately, the Ryan that Misha expected from the letters was so different from the Ryan he met because Ryan was actually being pretentious just so she could fit in, and Misha hated it. Then, because of some reasons, Misha suddenly appeared in Ryan's school but with a different name. And still, without telling Ryan who he really is, he made Ryan's school life miserable. So basically, that was their shift from being friends to enemies. The shift from enemies to lovers, you have to read the book. This is quite interesting for me because the first four books that I've shared with you, they were all written from the point of view of the girl. But this one, Pang 57, this was written from the point of view of both the girl and the boy. So some chapters were written from Misha's point of view, while some chapters were written from Ryan's point of view. This book was also deeper than I expected because aside from the love story, there were also some issues going on with Misha and Ryan individually that they needed to resolve or that they needed to find answers to, and I think that it really contributed to the whole plot. There's this certain message that the author wanted to impart to the reader. By the way, Pang 57 has also a number of trigger warnings, and some of the chapters were quite explicit and steamy, so if you want, you can search more about it first before reading. So, that's it for this video. All the things that I've shared were purely my personal thoughts, but I hope I was able to help you find your next book to read, or at least somehow I was able to encourage you to read more. Until my next video, keep safe, be happy, and God bless. Bye!